Good Monday morning, everyone, and welcome to Perspectives. It is Monday, November 1st, 2021. November 1st, the 11th month of the year. Yeah, already. All right, we just have like a couple, how many days to Christmas? Yes, we are talking about Christmas and we are feeling Christmas. Anyway, hope you're up and about. It's a beautiful Monday morning, wherever you are, getting ready for school. Some of you, I know you're doing that in person today. So best wishes to you and everyone else. Trust you had a great weekend as well. And I know Asham probably smelling everywhere as we take it to the cemetery. And of course, pay homage to those of our relatives and friends who have passed. I'm Brenda Baptiste. Welcome to the program. And we say good morning to all the broadcast entities joining us and streaming this live. MTV on air and online, Mikey Live, TNR Communications, Partygrenada, KG9, and of course, Sister Isle in Carriacou. We welcome all of you to the broadcast. And it's now time to say good morning to our expert talk panel, our Senator Christopher Allie and Mr. Byron Campbell. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Brenda. Happy November to you as well.
Yes, the best month of the year.
It's about 55 days to Christmas, thereabout, if my calculation is right. So, yeah, we're getting there. And it's amazing how quickly the year have passed by.
This morning I was like, okay, what?
Yeah.
Like, see me right in 1, 11, 20, 21. I'm like, wow, shocking.
Speed it up if it has the right word to get us.
But before we get into it, Mr. Campbell, first of all, condolences to you on the passing of your brother, the great Grenadian, Mr. Ojas Campbell. And I looked on a bit at your celebration of his life. His going home ceremony, if you will. Yeah. And yes, it was pretty. It was honorable, very solemn, family oriented, and your tribute to him was really, really wonderful. And I saw you made it through without cracking.
I might do that now.
So
thank you very much.
Condolences.
Highly appreciate it.
Yes, Byron, of course. Ojas was stalwart in the agricultural sector and community.
I think, and you know, thank you for the sentiments on behalf of the family. But I think, and it was expected the Minister of Agriculture was there, given his contribution to that sector, and he would have introduced things like farmers emulation, like Farmers Field Day, Farmer of the Year, which was a great motivational.
But I was told he was probably the longest serving extension officer. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Rose to the Chief.
Rose to the Chief.
Someone said that in the tributes. Someone said that.
It was amazing. He had a love for the thing.
Yeah, passion.
He never gave it up.
I'm not there yet.
We get in it.
Work in progress. Thank you.
In any field of endeavor, passion is necessary. Because you find even if people have the skills and competencies and the passion is lacking, you never get to. Well, that's the level with and awesome.
The thing with passion is that when you have a love for it, it's never work. Never seen as work.
How it looked was important for him. The aesthetics, the form, the shape, the beauty, even the land.
Because they all came together. They all came together. They all came together. That's great.
So, Byron, we had a throne speech. That's going to lead up to Budget 2022. Hopefully, as Minister of Finance said, the 27th of November. We have COP26 going on.
We had a throne speech since week before.
But we weren't.
But we were not around. We had a break,
course,
right?
We had over the weekend the NDC convention, finally, after postponements, and we see a completely changed new executive, so to speak, a new face of the party and so on, which may be a good thing politically.
Chris, I made some observation on this. Of course, it's only hours away, but clearly I want to make two important points here on that. Sandra Ferguson, my good friend, I think made some comments before in terms of, this comments had to do with leadership. And she said in leadership, and she was referring to what was coming, the leadership. And she says the important issues were what are the track records? She said, what struggles have they been involved in? She said, what public interest issue have we heard them advocating or they have taken a stand on? And finally, she said, whose interest do they defend? have you heard them defending? But I think in looking at the results, clearly there was a big vote for the youth, and I think that's a positive. But two other things I observed, that when I looked at the 17 persons on the executive, I noticed that only 30% were women, so 70% male, and the male dominated all the major significant positions. The females went to the secretary, recording secretary, deputy recording secretary, so very, very much a traditional women role. I think that this is something as a party and any organization, in fact, should look at to ensure that in this new dispensation, women must occupy, and they have the capacity and competencies to do this, So I don't think this was represented in this new executive that I saw.
I am one who believes, though, that we just shouldn't throw in women for optics.
No.
If there were women available to fill the roles, fine. And yes, maybe the capacity with women in the organization need to be built. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I'm just looking at the numbers.
About the organization.
I'm just looking at the numbers.
Right.
I'm just looking at the numbers.
But I take the point, and I agree. Being the kind of woman I am and supportive of other women, but I also believe that sometimes women are thrown in for optics.
Probably.
And women should never be thrown in for optics. Women should be taken seriously, and when they bring a certain level to whatever. So in the 30% of men, what happened to Ms. Joseph? She didn't prevail?
Well, that's the other thing, Brenda, Chris, is that what I observed there, that was the traditional, the stalwarts or the persons we know, the faces. There's been a total transition.
I'll probably put it another way. The people who were there that got 15-0 have all been put aside. So the party seems to have taken a new slant that we want new blood, fresh faces, a new perspective on this political times going forward. And they took that decision. You could see that. And all the stalwarts or the guys and ladies who have been there before when the defeats that they had, they seem to have taken a decision. Let's start with a new set and see how that can change what's required. I think.
But in the business of politics, isn't that strategic? That's supposed to work.
Yeah, well, it is strategic, but I think Sandra's points that Byron raised there is also going to be significant as well, because people need to understand track records, what is happening, where they're going. I think on the diaspora side, they will get good support because the diasporas in Canada and in New York and England have clamored for NDC to have a change and a new face. So I think that is positive for them. I like the fact that a lot of young people have seen it important to get involved at that level and offer the time and talent to that. So I think that is a positive, very positive move. I also believe the NNP, on the other hand, needs to look at that as well, because they will have issues with transition into younger faces, new people, and new talent and blood. So that is something that the political parties have to manage, as we call it, succession, and how you manage that. So that's a good thing.
Well, and the thing is that the succession can either come out of necessity, or it could come out of will. So either way, it has to be done, and you have to be able to. If it's an organization that required some freshening up, let's admit that, and it's an organization that needed to be turned on its head to reinvent.
When you look at us in the region and the leaders we have, if you talk from Trinidad, Mr. Rowley's age, you talk of St. Vincent, Prime Minister Gonzalez. The youngest we have in the region is the Dominican Prime Minister, and he has been in it for a while. So there is, even on the regional scene, I mean, our own Prime Minister and the regional, when you look at it, St. Lucia and all of them, we're lacking younger, youthful steps in the political echelons.
So they've demonstrated this, and the point you're making is a positive, clearly.
And that is something that they have to commend them about. I think that is a good move, and let's see how it works.
The only other thing, somebody was just showing me something here. The only other, Adrian Thomas prevailed as the deputy political leader. Because that's what I was asking about the other person. So Adrian Thomas prevailed. I think that's good.
Randall is still there. Brother Robinson is still there. Assistant PRO,
I think it's good that Adrian Thomas prevailed as the deputy political leader. And I am looking at it from the point of view of in organizations, there should always be a consistent
Continuity.
Yeah,
Continuity.
for continuity,
Continuity,
and then somebody with institutional knowledge.
Yeah.
So with Deacon Mitchell being the leader, new to the organization, so to speak, somebody like Adrian Thomas, who has been, like a staple, if you will.
Yeah.
He's been in the organization since about the early 2000s.
Yeah, long time.
And he rose to the executive pretty early. So somebody like him being there as a political leader, as a deputy political leader to the new political leader, I think that is a plus. I don't. If they have a relationship, it will be even better. In terms of how they. Because at this time, what you would want coming in new is to be able to be embraced by somebody at that level, and someone that can provide you with intelligence or information that would guide you as you move along. So trust is big there as well. So I think, I don't know all the dynamics, and it's not my business, but I'm here commenting as I'm expected to. So I think that is a plus.
I want to congratulate Deacon Mitchell. I think, I wish him well. And all his new executive members, I think we need to congratulate them and say, best wishes. It's going to be a tough job, and politics in the region and in our countries is not an easy thing.
And I think we just need to get, okay, so you say you don't know the individual, just take your time, be open, listen. If you speak to Dr. Mitchell, he started somewhere. Eric Gary started somewhere. Right. Maurice Bishop started somewhere. So just, be open, give people chances, let it.
It's an interest. I think we start an interesting period because there's a third party also, a fourth party also, and how it comes together. But I want to join with you, Chris, in congratulating all the elected executive and wish them well.
And wish them all.
And just to say that I think the road ahead I would want to see, and I've been asking for this for many years. I hope we could get to the point where political leaders offer themselves to a debate, so we can ask them hard questions about their policies and their way forward for the country in specific areas and sectors. And I really would like to see that happen, so that we, the electorate, the people who are going to be voting for them, can say, listen, I've heard X, Y, and Z. I believe this policy is better or that policy, but not just, in a traditional song and dance and what I think I can get.
Right. So our producer has just sent
Let's have some really good
Our producer has just sent the list of the executive. So the chairperson is Tevin Andrew from Carriacou. The deputy chairperson is Sylvester Quales. The political leader, Deacon Mitchell, deputy political leader, Mr. Adrian Thomas. The general secretary is Larry Barry. And then there are assistant general secretaries, Western, Eastern, Southern. The Western is Rickelson Scott. The Eastern is Belinda Charles. Southern is Ron Redhead. The recording secretary is Cindy Henry. The assistant secretary is Teresha Fortune. PRO is Orlando Romaine. Assistant PRO is Randall Robinson. Labor Relations, Andre Charles. Treasurer is Andrea St. Bernard. And the floor members are Mr. Lennox Andrews, Mr. Elwin McQuilkin, and Mr. Garvin Pear. So that's the executive in total.
So, Byron, I think we have had a good COVID run for the last. I have some statistics here I could probably share, which is positive. We had, in terms of new cases in September, we were averaging 157 per day. In October, it's 20 per day. Significant drop in terms of the new cases. Deaths, we were averaging 4.7 per day in September. We're now at 1.84. Let's say 1.8 per day in October. Daily tests, we were averaging 307 in September. We were up to 363 per day in October on average. And fully vaccinated at 171 per day in September. We now at 231 per day. So testimony to our folks and the technical people in the Ministry of Health for an excellent job. And of course our own population for understanding the severity of this, and we're heading in the right direction. The trend is significantly lower than it was. And we have benefited. We have seen the country open back up, curfew moved to 9. The hope is that we could move it to 11 or 12, and our people continue to observe all the protocols and do the right thing and get vaccinated.
The other important thing I noticed, Chris, that we do have a children vaccine now being made available for the ages of 5 to 11. The FDA authorized the a lower dose. That's for the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. So I think this is up to 90.7% efficacy. So this is really good.
So I know about you.
Yeah, go.
Face to face, back to school.
Yes.
I think now with the vaccines where it is, and hopefully we could get access to that. It is even more important to bring our children back out as we have
Antigua today
get them
they
vaccinated.
Go back, Antigua today they go back full throttle, face to face, and not even all of them are vaccinated. The teachers must, but the children.
Teachers.
Trinidad is ramping up their face to face as well. Barbados started a face to face. They tested, and now they're in opposition now with the Delta, so they're pulled back a little bit. And I know we're starting today with students who are not engaged on the platform. So yes, we really have to. And there are so many new things emerging about the COVID virus itself. This suite of protocols, particularly the vaccine and different things that are emerging, and how the pandemic itself, we now 2 years in, so we know at some point we kind of so I think it behooves us as well to take a second look at the mandating of vaccinations, because it is presenting a lot of I want to use the right word. I don't like words like segregation and things. Those words are strong, but it is creating a lot of anxieties.
The mandating?
It is creating
vaccinated versus unvaccinated.
Yes. It is creating a lot of that, because what is the immediate fallout of it is loss of livelihood. And so that is impacting. I do believe.
But I am still one that believes that mandating have to happen in certain sectors. I have given that up for school children. I think it is important, and teachers, that some degree of mandating, unless you have a medical reason. But I think it's too important for children. And when Mr. Colindo was on our program, he was very concerned that we're going to lose a generation through this COVID thing. That is not
the
going
biggest,
to be correct. And that is a major, because we won't see the effects of this now. We'll see the effects of this 5-10 years down the road. And that is what we have to manage, and I think is important. And I still believe that, we calling them all kind of nice things. Safe zone. Why safe zones? Safe zones is mandating of vaccines, in my view.
It is.
All right? If you declare...
Well, safe zone is a place for those who are vaccinated to be.
Well, that's what it is. That's the point. That's what it is. Indirect way of saying...
showing evidence that you're free of the virus.
Correct. We calling them all kind of nice things. We don't want to say mandating, but I mean, if I declare Byron's house to be a safe zone, all it's saying that I can't come by Byron. Byron can't do nothing.
Well, they say before safe zones we had bubbles and all of that. So
So I mean,
I think also important is that what we're seeing now coming on stream is a lot of very effective treatment for persons catching the virus. So I think that's important.
The recovery rate.
So I think what we're seeing is how we coexist, how we live with the virus.
Yes.
It's here, we have to stay. Exactly. It's here to stay.
And whether another key thing to consider is whether one size fits all solutions is it.
And the other thing, Chris, not to move the conversation, but we were talking off camera about COP26, and this conference that's taking place now, starting today, I believe, critical for the world in terms of our whole future, in terms of the environment and future generations, not for ourselves. And I think this is a crucial. I know Grenada is represented. I'm not very familiar with the specific issues in terms of Grenada's stand and our to what extent we have met our promise from COP25, because I think there'll be an assessment.
We have 2030 where we have put our targets and set a 30% reduction and 40% reduction in emissions from various aspects. The two major ones for us, of course, is Grenlec and, of course, transportation. And government have offered a 30 and 40% reduction respectively in those areas. there's a strong move to get us, as you know, in renewables on the production of electricity side and generation, and to convert our transport sector into electric vehicles and move it over. So that is government's commitment. Now, how we get there and the speed at which we get there is the other thing. And the amount of resources we're going to need to transition into those areas. So there is a lot of work to be done. But what worries me the most, Byron, is the fact that we are behind the curve already.
Yeah.
So let's take sea level rises as an example and bleaching of our coral reefs. And we're talking about the blue economy. The blue economy is in serious jeopardy if we don't manage that 1.5 degree increase in temperature that we seem to are going to meet. The 1.5 degree right now is going to be met in the next 5 years or less if we don't start doing drastic changes. And it really worries us in these small islands. I like to call us small island ocean states. More ocean than
island. But the thing about it, even on the conference of the parties, which is the COP, that's what it means, COP. The oceanic states, Barbados, Grenada, all these islands. It is really the fact that all the things that there are things that are so threatening to them are very survival. Even before we talk about all these other deliverables we have to do in terms of infrastructure and quality of life, is our very survival and how it can be impacted. And if we do not act to reduce, all those harmful effects, and even how the world treats us, because it's like, really and truly, when you look at these islands, especially in this part of the world, I mean, how much are we contributing to the degradation of the climate?
0.0004%.
Thank you. You understand?
And
we have all these other people. Where are we gone now?
I agree, Brenda.
So I really look forward to hear. I really look forward to hear the representation that Dr. Rowley is going to make. He's the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago, we know, produces oil. They are part of some of the issues around this part of the world. So I want to hear what he has to say. But more importantly, though, in terms of advocacy for our region and the oceanic states like ours, I want to hear from Prime Minister Mia Mottley of Barbados, who was really, really, really almost emotional on this, and just how threatening it is with Barbados already mitigating because of some of the things that can happen because of the threats from the climate if we don't change.
We have a lot of work. I mean, let me just give one example, and then I could hush my mouth on this. But I intend to raise this a lot in Senate.
Yes, it's important. It's important.
But let's take the Caranage. Caranage is a centerpiece for Grenada in terms of its beauty and its operation and what happens. The wall in the Caranage is an extremely porous wall, so it is in dire need of repairs. Now, with sea level rise happening at a rapid pace, it's happening. It's not only for repairs; we need to raise the height. Right, because in the next 10 years or less, based on this rapid rises we've seen, water is going to be in the road.
Or airports.
Or airports, mitigation aspects for there. And so we're behind the curve already. So this is about getting the money, which is going to take a while, so getting these monies and this grant funding, and the other big thing, Brenda, as you mentioned, this small island developing states, particularly the OECS, Barbados and Jamaica and so on, we need to come together. If there's no time we need to come together, is to come together holistically as islands with same problems.
And we have the institutions already.
Yes.
Correct.
And for us to say, listen, let us put an organization, a group of people in place to coordinate this effort across these islands in the next 10 to 15 years. By 2030, we know that this is going to be achieved because this is how we're doing it. I'm really passionate about it. So we have another endemic coming, envirodemic, to the pandemic.
No, it's urgent, and what we see already.
The pandemic needs to become endemic so we can all get on with our lives. But that's up to us, and that's a whole other conversation.
Whole other stuff.
It's right here. We see it in the erratic weather conditions.
We had it in Petit Martinique. We lost almost a whole playing field in Petit Martinique, and we had to do mitigation.
I mean, we don't have to go far on any normal day. Just to wrap it around our heads, the kind of threat we are. everywhere you turn is a sea, is an ocean.
Yeah.
Sure.
Everywhere you look is the ocean. Our landmass is small. We have done a lot, you know. I mean, even how we have built our homes. Everybody want to be on top of the hill. Oh, the view.
Yeah, telescope.
You know, all these different things.
We have the one in
things.
So we're going to see a lot more mitigation and adaptation, and there's a lot of financing there, Chris, as you know. How do we access this money, this grant financing?
And I think our next guest is going to tell us what they're doing with that as well.
Fine.
Yeah, so Brenda.
Yeah. The next, the big thing that's been buzzing around as well is the cost of the electricity, and just, you know, everybody's just kind of really up in arms about that.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you could argue that when the Grand Lake buyout happened, there was promises made that, you know, the rates will be looked at to be reduced and so on. Unfortunately, none of us expected oil to be at the price it is now. I think almost $70 a barrel or heading towards that direction. And the ripple effects that is happening in inflationary measures right throughout the world. It's not just Grenada alone. So Grand Lake's non-fuel, the fuel charges, if you looked at it over the last, it's trending higher and significantly higher. And so we're going to be getting issues with that. And even at the pump, you know, the people have been complaining of the price increases there and so on. So it is one of those measures, and I think Minister Bowen, in his position as Minister for Energy, had indicated that the transition into renewables, PV systems, and other aspects, wind and so on. But I think the major thing for Grand Lake is changing over the engines from diesel to, say, LPG or natural gas.
Natural gas.
And that is one of the areas that may have to happen quicker than normal. So that you could get a significant break in the rates.
That's cheaper.
That's cheaper. I mean, the major issue we had with natural gas was storage and transportation. I think the issue of transportation has been solved in that you could get smaller units to bring it. And storage, I think they're now looking at the Grand Lake farm here now to see how they could convert to store. So that is one of the major areas that once we could convert two of our major engines to that, then it's an expensive process to convert the engines from diesel to, but it can be done. And once we do it, then you'll see a significant reduction. I think this is what Minister Bowen was alluding to when he spoke, dealing with how it, and then augment that with trying to incentivize country homeowners and businesses to convert a lot of the consumption to PV is going to significantly help as well. So I think that's where we are, but I believe the PERC, as a business, we have been looking into it, but there is a lot of work in the PERC that needs to be done. There's a lot of things the PERC have done that is not clear. So some of us in business who would like to convert, we would not go there unless we get clarity.
That's a public utilities regulation.
That's right. We will not go there unless there's clarity on how. For a simple example, the PERC is saying your license would be for 15 years. The systems that you put up could last for 25 years. All right, so why would I want a license for 15 years? Go back.
Your investment is 25 years.
Right, but even
to
before...
go back and you're not sure you might get an answer of yes, continue. But so you need to harmonize certain things for investors like ourselves who want to go there.
Right.
You could say that when we spend this money, you know, you're sure that your license is in place for at least the life of the spend.
Right.
So these are the little things that PERC needs to pay attention
but
to.
I think that I think the big thing remains is how the increase in prices are impacting the customers, right? The people of the country who are the customers. And over the course of last week it reached its pinnacle. But it was like in the last 2 weeks, it's been building and building and building. And the thing about it is, you know, yes, there's a public utility company, and you know, there's all this scientific language and so on. But just to bring it simple, it is customer service 101. I am paying for a utility. There's something happening that a customer is unhappy about. How am I addressing this? The thing is, we're in a time where people's spend is reduced. Some people are not working at all. Electricity is a necessity. We live in a capitalist society. Let's not make any mistake about that. So what can poor Grenada do about the price of oil?
Brenda,
right? That is going to continue to happen. But having said that, there is some major role that our government has to play and must play to address the concerns. And from where I sit and from listening to people and just trying to analyze, okay, so you have disgruntled customers. So there are a couple things. They have immediate, you have to quell, there's an immediate quelling, there's a medium-term quelling, and there's a long-term. So the renewables is long-term, but it have to happen quicker than we planning, right? And there's something that needs to come medium. But from now till when? Senator Allie, my question to you is there anything, because I don't know how all this formulas and pricing and all of that work. Is there anything?
Yes, there is a very
Is there
simple
anything that the government can do? Is there a surcharge? Is there something that it can be done in the immediate term to say to the customer, all right, so this is a Movado watch. This is my Movado watch, right? I bought it at a fancy place, right? I go there, it might not be I go there, it's not working. They would say to me, okay, give me your watch. It has to be sent to Switzerland or the US. In the meantime, Ms. Baptiste, here is a replacement watch until the end of the year. So that's my customer service 101.
All right, so let me answer the question this way. The fact is, if we were to consider this as strictly a business situation, the cost that businesses incur to produce any good or service needs to be passed on to the customer simply with a markup, so that the business can remain viable and profitable. This is what Grenex's simple formula is. I incur costs for fuel, I incur costs for running the facility, I take that and I bill it into my rate and I pass it on to the consumer with a markup so I can remain profitable to reinvest in the company, right? Now, it is now owned by the government. So the government can step in and say, listen guys, your rate is $5 a unit, which has its markup and so on. Could we move that to say $4.25, $4.50? Take a little hit on your margins, but keep the company viable and let us do that for the next 3 months to help the immediate situation with the man on the
immediate
street,
redress
right?
of the customer's concern.
That the company can say, listen, yes, I know I have to pass on, I'm still passing on, but I can maintain with this drop for at least 3 to 6 months. But beyond there, based on how the oil prices go, we'll see what we need to do again. But that is probably the immediate way to deal with it and see how, now if it wasn't government owned, they couldn't touch it.
Oh, that's it. And
now it's government owned. They can touch it.
And what you have thrown in there as well, as you introduce the government, the political side of it is that it was promised that once we got this company back, we were going to get lower rates. And there is plans to get to that. But now that this has spiraled to where it has, you know, the ordinary man is like, what is this? They tell me it will be cheaper. So these things have to be addressed immediately. So when you come out to tell me about, you know, why it's high, I appreciate the explanations, the world market, the this, the that. But what I'm listening for, how we go get lower? When we go get lower?
I think Minister Boyd in all justice did say that and alluded to the fact that they're going to come with something in the next month or 2 or 3 so that you could give some relief.
It can't be a month or 2 or 3.
I don't know the intricacies.
It can't be a month or 2 or 3.
But
my only take on it, Chris, is that look,
people are really up in arms about this.
But remember, people have a responsibility to conserve as well. Don't take it away.
No, but
we must mention that if you know your rates are going up, it's like gasoline. If your price at the pump went up by 50 cents per gallon and you used to do 100 miles per day, you have to cut it down. You have that responsibility as well. You have to cut down the amount of travel.
So the consumer has a responsibility.
It does, because in this period it is a factor because Mr. Hostin from Grenex, acting general manager, he was excellent on the press conference, communicated so well and simple. He made it clear that, and it's something I didn't even factor in, that during this down period, the time we have spent at home,
correct,
right? You know, our consumption, it's been more. right? And the way he presented it was to get us to think about it and have a look at what we did. He didn't make it sound as if, well, it's your fault, you know? So we need to, correct. Of course,
look at it.
Lockdown weekend, lockdown weekend, you can't go nowhere, it's afraid you're going in.
I think we have to keep in mind that it is an international matter. In other words, supply and demand.
I think we understand all of that, but we need to.
Fuel
but this
is
how
going in a particular direction.
Yeah.
You know, the government, as you mentioned, Chris, is true that the government has a say. In other words, they could adjust the profitability of the company. I mean, that is where they can intervene immediately. But we have to keep in mind that there is global inflation right now, and that's a factor that every country has to deal with. So I agree with the consumer also has a major responsibility to better manage his or her utilization of energy.
And we have to speed up. We have to speed up the renewable process.
Clearly.
We just because it goes in line with all that. You know, we're talking about the climate resilience and all of this. So we have to speed those up and make those investments. So, quite a lot.
Yes. We're going past our phone.
Yes, quite a lot. It is Perspectives. When we come back, we have a wonderful conversation with Saip. And we're sticking climate smart this morning. And you hear all the wonderful things they're doing in that project. We take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Get Vax. It's your best shot. Hello.
A message from the Ministry of Health.
Dreaming of taking a break and escaping to an idyllic, happy place? Well, finding it does not require you to go too far. You already live in paradise. All it takes is for you to go out and discover it. Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique are blessed with a wide variety of accommodation that satisfy any taste and budget. Find the one that suits you and your family and treat yourself while having peace of mind that your health and safety is a priority. Knowing that we have gorgeous waterfalls, stunning beaches, and flavorful cuisine, let's be tourists in our own islands and enjoy paradise at home.
Welcome back to Perspectives on this Monday, November 1st, All Saints Day, Asham, right? Now, this morning, we are having a conversation with SAEP. Now, in case you're wondering, what is SAEP, right? You may see SAEP, an acronym across many places you go. The Climate Smart Agriculture and Rural Enterprise Program, that is SAEP. It is a 6-year program. It's run from 2018 through to 2024. Funded by the International Fund for Agriculture Development, that's IFAD, for the Caribbean Development Bank, the CDB, and the Government of Grenada. It is part of the Rural Development Unit of the Ministry of Finance. The Climate Smart Agriculture and Rural Enterprise Program is a program focused on assisting beneficiaries to improve their livelihoods through skills training, investments in agriculture, teaching climate smart practices, and providing business skills training and technical services to rural enterprises in the rural communities throughout the state of Grenada. So this morning we have some wonderful folks from SAEP with us. Mrs. Chevelyn Boney Noel, she is the project coordinator of the EBD component of the SIAP program, which is implemented by GIDC. Mr. Kenley Edwards, he's the CSA coordinator of SIAP, and Ms. Michelle John, she's the M&E specialist of SIAP. We say good morning to all three panelists. Good morning.
Good morning, Brenda. Good morning, Mr. Diani.
Good morning, Kenley.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's really great to have all of you here. Michelle, we're going to start with you. What is the Climate Smart Agriculture and Rural Enterprise Program? What is SIAP?
Okay, well, that's a big ticket question here. What is SIAP? Well, SIAP is all things to do with agriculture and focusing on climate smart. Our main goal is to contribute to the reduction of poverty and vulnerability of young men and women, and generally men and women in the rural communities throughout trial and state. And as I said before, the focus is on climate smart agriculture to improve the livelihood and build the resiliences by providing information on climate smart agriculture, encouraging persons to adopt CSA practices, making them more aware of the climate change issues, and also ensuring that persons have an entrepreneurial spirit by accessing new jobs through skills training and business development.
Mm-hmm. So the program seeks to target whom and how are they selected?
Well, our program targets persons within the rural communities, so community persons at large. We provide information on climate smart agriculture. We target fishers, farmers, young people between the ages of 16 to 35, and we also target persons within the school through 4-H, which is done through the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands. And how they are selected, it's basically by an assessment of their household. It has to do with if their household, if there's the head of the household is single, if there are persons who are unemployed within their household, the education level of the household, and the amount of persons. So those are the 4 major areas. So once persons meet 2 of those, and in cases of persons accessing climate smart agriculture, they have to be actively involved in it. Once they do that, they can receive assistance from our program.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So my question to you, Michelle, is this. Give me one example of what is climate smart agriculture to start with. What exactly, as an example, are these young people trained to ensure that the traditional practices are now different because we have a climate issue that is happening around us, temperature rises and all of that? What is it that they're trained to do as an example to be doing things differently?
Okay, well, one of the examples that I could think of is sustainable animal production. A lot of times previously, persons usually tie out their animals into different pastures, and we see with the high increase of the sun and the dry season, there is not enough foliage for persons. So what we encourage, and we'll be doing it in the next couple of weeks, and we've done it in Carriacou, is to encourage farmers to grow their own foliage, to grow their own specific nutrient-rich foods so that they'll be able to cut and carry and provide to their farmers. So that's just one example. But we have other things like terracing, composting, some of them that are more traditional. And also we're looking into providing more innovative climate smart.
So one of the things I know want to find out if you guys look at as well, from the management point of view, let's take, for example, water and water resources. How you manage that. Fresh water and water for agriculture production is a big thing and a big discussion on that right now based on the scarcity of water and what is going to happen with water in the next 10 to 15 years. Is that an area being looked at? How do we get the science to harmonize with the practices? So for example, are we looking at greenhouses, how we deploy it, how we don't? And do we train our young people to understand that farming now is not what we used to know it with the shovel and the hoe and the fork? Yes, you have some of that, but how are we incorporating technology to help with the climate smart aspect of this new agriculture that we're promoting?
I think, Mr. Edwards, you can take that.
Yes, can we?
All right, thank you, Brenda.
And
All right, so,
listen, as we throw the questions, any of you on the panel can take them, yeah?
Okay,
Yeah,
are you guys hearing me okay?
Yeah.
Very well, very well.
You very well.
Okay, right. All right, so one of the things that we do under the Climate Smart is we encourage what is called rainwater harvesting. As you know, with the change in our climate, we have instances where there are prolonged dry spells, and in that way, you have the water availability being scarce. And because traditionally in Grenada, we farm mainly through the elements in terms of relying on rainfall, areas that are prone to dry spells, farming activities will be severely limited. So what we do is that as part of our program, one of the fundings that are available for beneficiaries is the encouragement of rainwater harvesting. We also encourage what is called water resource management. So if you are involved in irrigation, we try to implement what we may say the most efficient way of irrigating. So you're looking at micro irrigation rather than using sprinklers, because we know sprinklers tend to waste water. And one of the things that we're not there yet, but one of the things that as part of the Climate Smart is to have micro sensors, which is able to, should I say, check the moisture level within the soil and give an indication as to when you should irrigate. There's a new technology out called Byron, which basically works along that line. So as part of our program, we encourage our beneficiaries, we encourage people to use alternative means in terms of conserving water, because water is one of the most critical parts in agriculture. In terms of shade houses, yes, we also encourage shade houses, and I'm just going to go straight into that. Michelle would have spoken of before age, and one of the things we have under the Climate Smart initiative is to install 6 shade houses at selected councils within Grenada and Carriacou for the 4-Hers in schools. And in that way, we basically will be teaching the young ones that's between 12 and 17 within the private school as to how the functions of a greenhouse or a shade house, what are the right conditions for growing these crops. And the whole idea, again, is to grow these crops under a controlled environment. So it does not rely, if I may say, on the natural elements, but you basically will be utilizing the greenhouse and the shade house to grow your agricultural crops. So these are just some of the initiatives that we have in place under the CSA component.
There was one session I attended where I saw the use of PV panels to help with the generation of electrical things for pumping, for example. So if you have an irrigation system and you have a pump, instead of using the normal system, you go onto your PV panel system and use that to help with your pumping. But the interesting thing on that seminar that I was at is that they were incorporating plants in the shade of the PV panel. So you have the PV panel set up in your field, but you're growing plants on there because you know the moisture content that is required by your plants. There's a maximum limit to how much they could take in a particular day, especially when the sun is at its highest. So you manage that process. Is these things, are these kinds of technologies being looked at through your program? Even though it's not now, but down the road as we develop, because I am told that your funding is it 13 million US that you have to help with developing our young people. Are these the kind of trends that we're looking at?
Yeah, these are some of the things that definitely that we want to initiate. And I may just say there is actually an organization in Grenada that is actually, it's not part of SIPE, but I'm just going to speak of it because I'm involved in it as well. Where they would have actually received funding to install solar pumps for generating, irrigating their lands. In that way, again, you want to move away from using the fossil fuels. So that's what I said. So it's a sustainable water management practice where you're using the energy generated from solar. You have a solar pump, and your solar pump now is being used to irrigate your fields. So in that way, you're basically reducing on carbon emission. So not just the irrigating lines, but we're looking at all of the components that goes into irrigation. So in terms of what the question you asked, we're not there yet, but this is something that I'm hoping that we'll be able to introduce more innovation in the actual aspect of using renewables as part of our climate smart initiative to ensure that we reduce on that carbon footprint, which we know could have very devastating effects on, and you said, not small island developing states, but oceanic states, because they are surrounded by water. And we know that any change in any of the climatic conditions can have severe effects on our environment. So it's something that we will definitely look at, these innovative means and methods. But for now, we are taking it. I don't want to use the word baby steps, but we want to introduce those that are most applicable. And then once we could scale up, we will scale up once we have the requisite expertise to do so.
I want to switch my question now to another aspect of the program, which I think is a very important and laudable aspect. The fact that a heavy component of your program is training, and training in the areas of skills, vocational training. I think I saw plumbing and other aspects of your program where you're training your young people to attain these skills, because it is life skills that I think on the academic side sometimes we ignore, because you could be well qualified academically to do an office job or whatever, but the other life skills of being a plumber, being somebody to handle basic electricals, even bricklaying, how is that component of your program working? And probably this is a question for Michelle as well. What are we seeing in terms of the demographics of the program, in terms of male, female acceptance of these training in vocational areas? I know our women, there's no bars, no holding bars now for them to become plumbers and bricklayers. What are we seeing in the program? I think we have
the specialist for that part of it. She's here as well, Miss Boney. So you can come in here, Miss Boney Noel.
Yes, sorry, Miss Boney. I mean, what are we seeing in terms of that dynamic?
Thank you for having me. But I will pass on to Ms. John. She will speak a bit more on the VSC component of the program.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so as you rightfully said, SIAP is focused on skills training for young people, 16 to 35. And we have been able to implement that through agreements or memorandum of understandings with 3 different service providers, NULO, GNT, and TAMCC. And as you did mention, we've had around 22 areas, plumbing, photovoltaic installation, crop production, general agriculture, water flow tiling, and the all-important healthcare. We've had three different courses in healthcare, orderly patient care. So currently we have 372 persons engaged, and it's generally a 40% male, 53% female. So we definitely are very encouraged by seeing a large number of males, and especially in those areas where they're not traditionally, we haven't traditionally been seeing them. So we've seen males in agro-food processing, food preparation, and even healthcare in orderly. And on the flip side, we've also seen a shift. There are a few females that are involved in plumbing, in those computer engineering, those previously predominantly male-driven courses. So for persons who are attached to that, they'll be receiving CVQ level 2, NVQ. It's not just about the training, but it's the practical demonstration is key. And there are a few international certificates in there with web design and computer engineering. And it's a scholarship opportunity. So SIAP provides, pays for the training, pays for the certification, along with transportation allowance and childcare.
So Ms.
And
John,
there's also, go ahead.
Sorry, Ms. John, what kind of success rates have you seen since your program started? And do the program have an element where we track these students who have graduated in terms of jobs they have been able to get and their contribution to the country in terms of the relevant areas?
Well, yes, definitely. We have seen, there were a few dropouts, especially we started our program in 2019, and then in 2020 we had the hit of COVID-19. So there were a lot of persons that in the interim, they needed to find jobs. So it was a bit difficult for them to continue with the program, but we've had a number of persons that were able to receive employment through being self-employed in the health sector, starting their own business, and even accessing the services on the GIDC. So we have seen that, which is a big positive.
Is there a
Mr.
Sorry, I want to last.
Go ahead.
Is there a facility in SIAP that will help? Let's take farmers. Is there something with Ministry of Agriculture where we can offer them plots to farm or involve them in larger estates and get them as smaller business units to encourage them? Or do we provide seed funding through one of the other organizations like GDB and so on to help those who want to go into their own business? Is that an element of SIAP that is there?
Okay, so how the climate smart agriculture component really runs is that we have memorandum of understandings with Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries Department, and CARICU. And we have a number of extension and fishery assistants in Grenada and also CARICU and Petit Martinique that provide that hand-holding support. But unfortunately, it's persons that are currently actively involved in farming. So we provide support to them. Unfortunately, we don't provide the land that you are referring to, but we provide support to persons, smallhold farmers who may have as small as an eighth of an acre, a quarter of an acre, persons who are considered backyard. They are receiving that sort of hand-holding extension support from our extensions. We have 8 extension assistants in Grenada, 2 fisheries assistants, and 1 extension and 1 fishery assistance in CARICU that provides them with that support. We also have a marketing officer, because the thing is, we can increase the production, but where is the actual produce going? So we have a marketing officer that provides that sort of linkages with supermarkets, assist them with brand development, and do various other marketing assessments, and also train the extension assistants. And we also have a grant facility in both CSA and the component that Shiblin is a part of, Enterprise Business Development. But one of the prerequisites for farmers and fishers, don't want to leave fishers out, which are very important, they must be actively involved.
Okay.
That has skin in the game.
Right. This question is for you, Mr. Edwards. What, in terms of the grant, like how do people qualify for the grants? What happens there? And explain how it is given.
Okay, so Michelle would have spoken briefly as to what are the criteria to become a beneficiary. So before you can access the grants, you must be what is called a pre-approved beneficiary. So we're looking at the number of persons in the household. The head of the household must be single. There must be more than 1 person unemployed adult, and then the education level. Now, once they meet these criteria, the next thing is that they fill out what we have is an intake form. And that intake form basically is an assessment not only of the individual farmer, fisher folk, or organization, but it also captures information about the type of farming activity or fishing activity that they're involved in. And then once that information is imputed into the intake form, it is assessed, and then I basically, as the CSA coordinator, will do a review. Right. And then once it's approved, it goes to M&E, and then M&E will send the information out to the extension assistant saying that this person has become pre-approved. To fast track, once that person becomes a beneficiary, they'll be getting CSA extension services and support. And we had this year, sometime in May, there would have been a call for proposal. And the call for proposal now basically is inviting farmers, fisher folks, and organizations to apply for the grant. Now, the proposals have to be in line with our CSA practices, and there are certain activities that are funded under the CSA, some of which I would have spoken of before, such as water harvesting, soil and water management, land preparation, animal husbandry, ensuring that 4-stroke engines for fishing, sustainable fishing practices, basically activities that are in tune to CSA. Now, they will get assistance from the extension assistants and the fisheries assistants in compiling the proposals. And once they write the proposals, they have a certain period of deadline as to when that proposal has to be submitted. Then once it's submitted, it is reviewed, and once that proposal meets the criteria, it goes to what is called a pre-approved selection. And then we have what is called a CSA selection committee, which will review all the proposals that are submitted to ensure that it's in keeping in line with the requirements and the criteria of the grant funding. After this is done, after the selection is done, we do what is called a field assessment again to ensure that the proposals that are submitted are in keeping and in line with what the program entails. Now, we would have had, for the year, we would have had 44 selected grant proposals, 10 additional backyard, which is 54. And we are now at the stage of doing the contracts, reviewing the proposals again to make sure that everything is keeping in line with the budget, because the beneficiaries, and I didn't say that, but there are different stages or among that is allocated per beneficiary. So if someone is an individual farmer, they are entitled to 90% of 8,000 US. So SIAP will provide 90% financing for that beneficiary, and the beneficiary will have to contribute 5% in cash and 5% in kind as a counterpart funding. Okay. Right? That's for individual farmers. So like I said, it's 8,000 US. Okay. That's the maximum allowed under the individual farmers. For groups, it's the same 8,000, but then based on the number of individuals in the group, the financing could go up to as much as 30,000 US. Again, the counterpart funding or the assistance will be 5% for in cash and 5% in kind. Under fisheries, beneficiaries there will have to contribute 20%, 10% of equity in cash and 10% in kind. SIAP will provide 80% financing. That again is 8,000 US. So these are just some of the categories and what are the maximum allowable units of financing that is allocated or available for the different beneficiaries.
All right. So before we go, Miss Bonnie, if you could just, Mrs. Bonnie Noel, sorry, if you could just kind of tell us how many young people are involved and what opportunities you have for, let's say, maybe for the next year or so, for folks who are 16 to 35 years old.
Okay, good morning. Thank you. We are offering grant financing through entrepreneurial training. So at GIDC, we have that program for young people between the ages of 16 to 35, where they can apply to firstly be trained, and then they have an opportunity to access to grant financing. So the entrepreneurial training that we offer, it is done via Zoom presently, and this change occurred because of COVID. We had started with implementing the training face-to-face, but because of Zoom, we had to because of COVID, we had to transition to online. So we have facilitators throughout the island providing remedial education, life skills, and GIDC providing the entrepreneurial skills, grant proposal training, and record keeping aspect of the course. We also employed a counselor on board to provide that kind of support to the young people. After they have gone through that 31 days of training, we issue several calls. After every batch of training, we issue calls for the grant, because one of the courses they have to complete is how to prepare the proposal itself to access the grant. And the grant ranges from, we have two aspects of the grant, Two aspects, the first push, and we have the business grant. The first push is a test grant. We want people to understand that we're in a dynamic environment, and sometimes the idea you have could be very profitable, or it may not be required at this time. So we allow people to test the business idea, and it's a small grant which provides that access to testing. So we have, just like the CSA, we have the individual component and the group component of the first push and the business grant. Individuals can access 95% of 1,000 US, and groups, however, can access 95% of 2,500 US. The business grant is a little bit, it's at a higher level, I should say. After you would have tested, you have market, people are interested in your product, then you get to apply for the business grant. And for individuals, we offer, well, the threshold is $25,000, 95% of that. And for groups, you can access up to $75,000, 90% of that. So far, we would have trained approximately 343 people face-to-face and online. Mm-hmm. And of that 343, we have around 200 people who would have applied to access the grant. And presently, we are working with over 100 young people who would have been approved to access the grant financing there. So we're really happy, we're excited that young people have that opportunity. Yeah. Some people are home, they're not doing anything, they can actually apply to us, apply at GIDC. We have 3 business development officers together with myself who are working in that component to implement that program. So we are asking people, young people, to apply. For 2022 though, because we are on our last batch of training, for 2022 we will be implementing our final 2 trainings. So we're asking people to even now start, be interested, get interested. There are people who have already started implementing the first push grant. They have already received monies from GIDC, and we are monitoring right now their implementation status. So I wanted to encourage young people to start and get excited about applying. So these are the opportunities that we have for young people presently.
If they want to apply and get us to part of the program, where can they apply? Could you give us details of the application and the addresses and so on?
Young people, if you wish, if you're interested, you can email GIDC, EBD. You can email us at ebd@gidc.gd. Send your emails to ebd@gidc.gd. You can also call the office at 444-1035, 444-1035, 439-9492, 439-9492, 439-0541, 439-0541. So that's how you can reach us. We also have, besides young people, we do cater for the adults. And we have a program, although we do not have a grant component for that program, but we want to work with persons who are already involved in business, have been existing for over at least 3 years. And we have our existing program, which I'm going to let people know, adults who are in business, we want to work with you. We want to ensure that you look at your business, because with COVID now, you have to find innovative ways of still remaining relevant and offering your product, getting it out there, offering your service. So we also have a program where we offer diagnostic and technical assistance and training to you to get you at a level where you can transition from how you used to operate before and further improve your business in a way that would really make you more effective on the market. Mm-hmm. So we are offering that to adult business owners, and they can send the interest, send an email to us if they are interested in actually taking a critical look at their business to improve it at the same email address and the phone numbers that I would have mentioned before.
All right. Thank you so very much. Thanks to all of you, Mrs. Shevlin Boney-Noel, the project coordination of the EBD component of SIAP, Mr. Kenley Edwards, who is the Climate Smart Agriculture Coordinator of SIAP, and Ms. Michelle John, she's the M&E Specialist with SIAP. Thank you so very much. Very great information. Such a good program. You guys really need to go through the length and breadth of Grenada to let folks know about this really, really, really great initiative. So thank you so very much. And thanks for all the work you do in the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, Brenda. And,
most welcome.
Maybe you could invite us again the next time to continue the conversation.
We will be happy to. We will be delighted to. Have a great day today. Hope you get some asham.
I'll try.
Yes, have a good one. Bye-bye.
Okay,
All right.
thanks. Take care.
This is Perspectives. We take a quick break. We'll be right back.
I am Chantel Fraser from Coast Guard St. Mark. I'm 22 years old. I did fish processing, SIAP, times.
My name is Dwight McLeish and I'm 21 years old and I'm doing the food preparation program. Before I enrolled in this course, I was attending the T.A. Marshall Community College in St. Patrick's studying hospitality services. My expectation in joining the program was learning how to run my own restaurant and becoming a better chef. Some of the exciting things I learned during the training were how to make my favorite dishes, for example, lasagna and chicken Alfredo. This training has impacted my life tremendously, teaching me multiple things that I didn't know before in the food industry, and I'm very grateful for it. After successfully finishing the course, I will be going on to further my education in food preparation. My name is Dwight McLeish and I am a SIAP beneficiary.
Welcome back to Perspectives. It's a time for us to wrap the program. And talented Allie and Mr. Campbell, well, you had to sit this one out, but I must say congratulations. Welcome back. But it was such great information coming from the team at SIAP.
Byron, I think you guys
that
are
is
doing...
an awesome program.
It is.
I learned so much today.
I think I'm looking at it from the perspective of the young people.
Yeah.
You have about 30-something young persons, professionals, qualified, in terms of monitoring evaluation specialists, procurement specialists, financial management specialists, In the technical part, we have young engineers there also. So it's a young team really, and their focus in terms of the rural development unit is to, which SAP is a part of, but the other part of it is the BNTF. And you know, BNTF is an interesting program, it's grant financing entirely, and because of its performance in the Cycle 9, it was able to get over $1 million as an incentive because of its performance in implementation.
That's
excellent.
That's a big deal right now.
We have a big problem with implementation.
So understand
that's excellent.
So this was great, and now they've started Cycle 9. It's just about completed. The final preschool will be commissioned by the end of the year, and Cycle 10, which is I think just over another $5 million allocated for Cycle 10, and a number of rural development projects are coming on stream there at grant financing. So I'm just talking about the team in terms of the training and and that's kind of my role. It's creating the kind of platform for these young people. It's theirs to take off. Project implementation,
fundamentals. Because you keep hearing there is nothing, there's no training for young people, there's no this for young people. But then we have these things that people probably need to know about as well. More.
I think the hope is a big thing.
It's a big thing,
providing hope to young people. And I keep saying, a lot of us could qualify. I remember as an engineer and qualifying as an engineer, we had to go and train to become a plumber as well. So, I mean, I do most of the basic plumbing at home, and because I'm a trained plumber through my engineering, but it's a vocation and a skill that you learn that you will never lose. And you can always use home personally and help, so these vocational training aspects of the program is so important. We may qualify to be a lawyer, but if a plug or a fuse or something go home, you must be able to change it.
But they seem to be addressing other parts as well, because they mentioned some of the cognitive and other skills that you get, so that it seems to be well-rounded and targeted and focused on, building entrepreneurs, if you will, especially in the rural communities and climate smart. We already have a big climate smart initiative, so we really need to. Those things need to become cohesive.
And I was making a point that we are addressing, or we have addressed the adaptation fund, where we're hoping to access and concept notes and all these things are in already, a grant of about $10 million to upgrade the whole SIAP program, and with particular emphasis on Carriacou, with the water systems, the pond and the system that they had. Rainwater harvesting, big deal. So you're going to see a lot of efforts there, because Carriacou is at the forefront, at the blunt of climate change. They already, and Petit Martinique, of course. So, but I think the key, as I said, is the capacity building and that the institutional matter for project implementation, because that's where it's at. Funds are available, but our implementation rate or implementation is where it falls. And that is the focus there that we're looking at. To be a professional institution.
The synergies are good though, to have all these young people there, driving the process, and then, folks like yourself providing that kind of guidance and skill and expertise.
I want to make one point though, that we've seen, again here, a higher intake of female young women professionals in this area as development practitioners. We have found that even in our training exercise, if you heard the numbers, that we have more young women coming forward also to benefit. The male seem to be reluctant to go through that 9 months of training sometimes, particularly for the CVQs. They want cash up front, they want money now. So we've seen a higher intake of young women, whether this is in healthcare assistance or all areas, even in construction, we've seen a higher intake of young women.
So we have to address that.
So it has to be addressed.
All kudos to the young women and the power. I think we just need to get young people. Male and female. Yes, we have to address the male-female thing. But young people, giving them the fact that there is hope out there, there is businesses you could look at. You don't have to go and search for a job. You could do something on your own, or both.
Or both.
You could qualify yourself, get a job, but still have your business running on the side.
Well, that's gonna take a lot of work, because already we are conditioned to, go to school, gain all the academics we can, and look for work in a big corporation. So to change mindsets to become entrepreneurs, that's a whole generational switch we would have to make. And I am one that believes it has to happen in the school system.
Well, they're working through 4-Hers.
Yeah. So, you know, that change would come. That is not change. That is not changes that would happen tomorrow. But it has to be done, you know, because it's not working for us. It's not working for us.
Congratulations, my brother.
Yeah.
Those young people, I'm really giving them the credit, you know.
Excellent program.
Yeah.
Excellent program.
Yeah, because young people, you have to address the fact that you mentioned the guys want the money now, and they don't want to do it for 9 months. That has to be addressed because there's also a microwave mentality. What can I need to obtain it now? My grandfather worked for 40 years to get where he is at. No, I need 40 days. So
and you see, and what happened to the young women? They get if you have young women having children, they get child support during the training, transportation. So there is resources, affirmative action to get them.
Because you're going at the rural sector.
That's correct.
Part of the economy.
And one important thing too, I should mention that we've worked with, the government has invested in refurbishing facilities at Simoon Industrial Estate, where you have a training center set up there so that rural young people in the rural communities don't have to come to Frequente. They can now go to St. Andrews.
Wonderful.
And the services is now available with business development officers employed throughout the community to support hand-holding for those small businesses.
That's great.
Young people.
That's great. Seems well thought out and well managed and everything.
You know, we must talk more about good things that happen in our country. We tend to always talk about the bad things and the dark things and criticize and so on.
Because if you are okay, so as an individual, I might be a modest person. But if I'm an organization, I can't be modest. People have to know what I'm doing. So whoever the organization is, they need to say what they're doing. I sat here and learned.
And this is not politics, eh?
I didn't know about SIPE. You understand? So
and I want to point out that the International Fund for Agricultural Development, which is a UN agency essentially based in Rome. Grenada is the only country that they're working with in the Eastern Caribbean, by the way, you know, in terms of this level of support. So we are very fortunate, and I think it's the track record from MAREP and even going back that these programs, because accountability has been critical. And this is in place. So
not only accounting for the funds, you know, but showing where it has actually gone, the results. And that's why I asked
it's results oriented.
Ms. John the thing about following the graduates and what they have achieved and where they have gone.
Excellent.
Because we are targeting and now as an outcome, yes, we have a couple hundreds being trained, but the outcome we want is employment.
Yes.
Ultimately, livelihoods.
Or your own business.
Livelihoods, exactly. How have livelihoods
So you need to follow them.
And enriching the quality of lives of individuals. That's what's important.
So it's a process.
Man. Excellent program again.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done. Well, that's our program. Anything else before we leave?
What's happening this week, Chris?
No, we have Senate coming up. We have to do the SOE
Senate this week?
Okay.
Yeah, we have.
As you talk about Senate, do you believe that that we'll see a change in the Senate? That somehow the leader of the opposition is going to make way for?
Where is the leader of the opposition? Didn't he have an arrangement going on somewhere?
You're asking me hard
for the new political leader to assume senatorial position. You see that happening?
No, I don't see that happening.
You don't see that level?
I don't, unless they have an agreement.
An agreement.
The leader of the opposition is the leader of opposition in his own right.
Of course.
Because he crossed.
Yeah.
He's not affiliated to any party, as far as I'm aware, and he doesn't have a party of his own.
And he probably would want to use that leverage to whatever that he should be allowed
my
to.
My understanding is the Constitution gives him 3 appointees as leader of opposition.
That's correct.
Now, if he affiliates himself to NDC or whoever else is out there and he wants to work an arrangement, that is up to him.
But he can ask the Governor General to revoke and
for
other entrants.
That's what I meant.
He can.
Right.
Let's look at the
dynamics.
How it goes forward.
Interesting times.
Of course. We are the Isle of Spice.
Where everything is nice.
We are a restless and dynamic bunch, but in a good way. In a very good way. That's our program, everyone. Have a very good Monday. It's November 1st. And please go out to the cemeteries. Listen, it's not a party at the cemetery.
Yeah.
You go there, pay your respects, you do a little ashaman thing, and you move on. Wear your mask,
Please wear your
sanitize,
mask
And
and
it's
social
time bound
social
also.
distance,
Yeah.
all right? As you pay your homage to the ancestors, your loved ones, everyone, all right? Good, let's continue to do so. Let's not get complacent, people. COVID is still around, all right? And so let's please keep that top of mind. Thank you so much again, gentlemen. For our executive producer, Richie Oliver, Kirk Oliver was a camera person this morning, Nazim Benjamin for your professional streaming services, and Blonda George for direction. I am Brenda Baptiste. Have a great Monday and a great week. Until next Perspectives, bye-bye.
Bye.